So Jason Greer, the founder and CEO of Greer Consulting, joins me now to talk more about what's really happening beneath the surface. So Jason, thanks for being with us. Now, you've said that the labor market is cooling even if the headline numbers don't fully depict this. So what real realities are workers facing that the data might not immediately show?
Yeah, here's the thing. When I talk to employees, I talk to thousands of employees per year as well as managers. Here's the thing they continue to say. They say, we hear that the economy is great. We hear that everyone's doing so wonderful, but we're still working 2 to 3 jobs just to make ends meet. Even when you consider, when you look at the unemployment rate, I mean, the unemployment rate dropped from about 4.6 to about 4.3%, which is fantastic. But then when you really look in the weeds and you look at the fact, I use Black women as an example. Their number in terms of the unemployment rate was about 7.6% in December 2025. And now that number's cooled down to about 6.3% in January 2026. So even though the numbers look good in terms of what the report is saying, there's still a lot to be desired.
Okay, and you have highlighted that workers measure the economy by what's left in their checking accounts, not by CPI reports, which I could fully agree with. But what does that really say about the gap between economic data and the actual lived experiences of course, us as Americans?
It says everything. President Trump has the same issue that President Biden had. You have 2 presidents who will stand in front of everybody and say that the economy is doing wonderful, but what they're saying is not necessarily translating to the people that are doing the jobs every single day. What I hear from employees is this. In November 2025, I heard employees say, I got to take 3 mortgages out just to pay for some eggs. You hear people saying, I got to take 3 mortgages out just to pay for gasoline. It's just one of those things that the numbers are saying one thing, but people's lived reality is something completely different.
Okay, and you mentioned something I think is such an important part of these jobs figures, and that's that job report revisions are happening still on the same monthly and annual schedule. But in recent years, we've seen these revisions, they've been far bigger than just historically speaking. So how does this impact not only just public trust, but also how much the market actually reads into these initial numbers?
Well, it's one of those things that 2 years ago, if these numbers came out, we'd say, go ahead and do a victory lap and take it as long as you want to go. Today, what we say in terms of all the revisions as it relates to the jobs report, take a victory lap, but make it a short 40-yard sprint and come on back, because we don't quite know the numbers that we're seeing today. We don't really know if they're really telling the true story.
Okay, and so in these situations when we see hiring softening but not yet collapsing, I mean, what changes do we typically feel first as employees? I mean, in terms of like job security, mobility, and compensation.
Yeah, really everything you just said is the fact that the employers right now, like 3 years ago, the employers had an incentive to pay people above and beyond because they wanted to keep the workers. Today, employers are not necessarily giving the big bonuses anymore. They're not giving the job perks that we used to see. We've had the fact that, my daughter comes out, graduates in 2028, and one of the conversations that we're having, she comes out of Butler University, one of the conversations we're having is making sure that you have the skill set that will prepare you for what the economy is going to look like in the job market, because employers don't feel as much of an incentive to incentivize employees to stay, because employees are scared to job hop because they don't know if they leave today, I'm going to have a job tomorrow.
Okay, and so in your opinion, as we do look ahead, what do you think is the most important thing that Americans should be preparing for as the labor market continues to cool? Well, on paper, again, it still remains historically tight. As you mentioned, we've heard from numerous administrations, but it doesn't feel that way in everyday life and, of course, in just everyday spending habits, frankly.
Yeah, what I said to people, and look, I've been accused of being the eternal optimist, and I will wear that badge with honor. What I'll say to people is this. Every single day that you wake up is a day for something better and something better than you had the day before. Make sure you're consistently working on upskilling. Make sure you are asking yourself a critical question. Are my skill sets today going to apply to what is going to be needed in the economy tomorrow? But more importantly, you are your brand. The economy goes up, the economy goes down. You live long enough. I turned 52 on Friday. I've lived some life. You've seen the good days, you've seen the bad days, but make sure you are always prepared for what the next day is going to look like.
Okay, and I love that. I think that we need some optimism in this world that feels really, really focused on negative headlines. So I think a good way to approach it, and it will definitely be a huge driver of not only Fed activity, but just the overall economy for the coming year, as the labor market does remain to be still fairly fragmented, as you did lay out. But we so appreciate your time today. And of course, ending on a more positive note, Jason Greer, founder and CEO of Greer Consulting.